The KXAN News Podcast is sponsored by Shelf Genie.
Now at 5, what that Chinese spy balloon was able to collect over sensitive military sites and send back to Beijing in real time before it was shot down.
And meet the crew going back to the moon, the astronauts who will orbit the moon for the first time in 50 years.
And after a record hot afternoon, we are watching the threat of an isolated severe storm in first warning weather.
Former President Donald Trump has made the trip from Mar-a-Lago to Manhattan a day ahead of making history. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
And I'm Daniel Marin. Tomorrow afternoon, the 45th President of the United States expected to become the first to sit in the Oval Office and then stand before a judge facing criminal charges. The indictment will remain sealed until after his arraignment, but sources tell NBC News the former president faces more than 30 charges in the case involving hush money paid to former adult star Stormy Daniels just ahead of the 2016 election to cover up an alleged affair.
And security will certainly be a challenge. The entire NYPD force, 35,000 officers on alert.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger.
The FBI is on the ground and the Secret Service will be with the former president at all times.
And there's a lot of new reaction from lawmakers in our nation's capital. Alice Barr reports from Washington, D.C.
With all eyes trained on former President Trump's journey to New York to face a judge on criminal charges, the view from Washington focused on the political fallout. Moderate Senate Democrat Joe Manchin.
I would hope and pray that whatever comes forth, that they've done due diligence.
Republicans warning the indictment sets a dangerous precedent.
Because it doesn't just smell political, it looks it.
GOP leaders and the Trump legal team accusing Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg of a political prosecution. The still sealed indictment stems from the documentation of payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential campaign. Mr. Trump denies Daniels' allegations of a 2006 affair or any other wrongdoing. With the former president once again running for the White House in 2024, Americans divided.
I'm celebrating the indictment of Donald J. Trump. Up to this point, he's been Teflon Don.
The Democrats keep going after him, and have they not learned since 2016 that every time they go after him, he just gets stronger and stronger?
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who's just announced he's running for president, breaking with other potential GOP rivals to say Mr. Trump should drop out of the race.
Your choice is either to fold and yield to Donald Trump to be the nominee, or you get in there and fight for the vote.
Hutchinson arguing the former president's legal troubles, including separate cases regarding alleged election interference and classified documents, distract from the issues that matter most to Americans. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Trump's campaign advisors say that he's raised more than $7 million since the news broke of his indictment. He's expected to leave New York immediately after tomorrow's arraignment and has said that he will make a public statement tomorrow night from his home in Florida.
And Florida residents who legally own a gun can now carry it in public without a permit. Texas, as you know, has a similar law. It means training and background checks will not be needed for people to carry concealed guns in public in the Sunshine State. Today's private bill signing comes 5 years after former Florida Governor Rick Scott signed a bill creating gun restrictions after 17 students and faculty were killed in the 2018 Parkland shooting.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, take a look at this drone video from Sunday showing the severe damage in Little Rock, Arkansas from the tornado that we told you about on Friday. The mayor says it injured at least 24 people there, and at least 5 people were killed in tornado-warned storms across Arkansas on Friday, including 4 in a tornado that struck the town of Wynne. And here's a look at Sullivan, Indiana, where more severe weather happened. The National Weather Service says an EF3 tornado, a strong one, touched down there on Friday night, killing at least 3. And severe weather that moved through northeast Ohio claimed the life of a 13-year-old boy in Leavittsburg. A large tree fell on his home on Saturday. Since Friday, tornadoes have killed more than 30 people in the U.S. Back here at home, fortunately, we have missed out on much of the severe weather, but we have this record heat to talk about. Today, it felt like summer, didn't it? The hottest April 3rd ever recorded in Austin, 93 beating the previous record of 90, and a slimmer record, but still a record at the airport, 90 beating the previous standing record of 89. These are current temperatures. It is still record hot this evening in Austin at 91, 88 in Bastrop, mid-90s out in the western hill country. Now, all of this heat and energy in the atmosphere is leading to a marginal 1 out of 5 threat of a little stronger severe storm. We're thinking these are most likely in the hill country, and that's the only area that we're seeing any action right now. This cell just east of San Saba is decaying, still some rain and lightning with that. But just south of Adamsville, this is a stronger but not severe storm. We do have a little hail core on this. This is likely small, non-damaging hail just southeast of Lomita. It's trekking toward Adamsville at 521, so you guys might want to stay indoors, move your car under cover if that's an option. Coming up, we've got your high-resolution radar forecast this evening. More heat tomorrow, but a significant change in the weather later this week.
All right, David, thank you. NBC Nightly News has new exclusive information about that Chinese spy balloon. Kelly O'Donnell shares what it captured on its flight over the U.S.
New details and exclusive reporting about that Chinese spy balloon that captivated attention earlier this year when it floated across the United States and was ultimately shot down under President Biden's order. NBC News is now reporting that, according to U.S. officials, current and former, that Chinese device was able to gather signals intelligence over sensitive American military sites. The device, which had some maneuverability, was able to perform what they described as figure eights over sensitive areas and was able to gather signals intelligence, electronic messages from some of the military installations gathered in real time and sent back to Beijing. U.S. officials have said that at the same time, the Americans watching that spy device from China were also able to collect data and intelligence about it until it was ultimately shot down off the coast of South Carolina. The United States is, of course, concerned about this incursion into American airspace, and it has increased some of the tensions between the U.S. and China. We'll have more on this exclusive report coming up tonight on NBC Nightly News. We'll see you then.
The Virginia teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student in January filed a $40 million lawsuit today against the Newport News School District. Former first-grade teacher Abigail Zwerner alleges that Rich Neck Elementary School administrators shrugged off multiple warnings from staff and students that the boy was believed to have a gun and posed an imminent threat on the day of the shooting. The complaint also mentions new details about the 6-year-old boy and an alleged pattern of troubling behavior. Zwerner is seeking a jury trial, noting in her suit that she suffers from physical pain and mental anguish.
A state-run program to provide rent relief shut down just days after it opened. What the rush of applications really tells us about Texans and the struggle to afford a place to live.
The waiting game at the airport, how often flights are delayed out of Austin, and which airline is on time the most.
And something to think about as you plan a summer road trip, where gas prices are headed after a surprise decision by oil-producing countries. At the Johnson Space Center in Houston today, NASA named the astronauts who will fly around the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. It's the first lunar mission since the Apollo back in 1972. Now, the Artemis II crew includes 3 Americans and 1 Canadian. They will orbit the moon on a day mission in late 2024, setting the stage then for an Artemis III mission landing on the moon. If all goes well, then on to Mars. Ahead on NBC Nightly News, we'll hear from the crew, and of course, you can imagine how excited they must be.
Federal data shows 1 out of every 5 flights in the U.S. last year was delayed. And at Austin's airport, just 75% of flights arrived on time. That is the lowest it's been since at least 2004. When you break it down by airline, Delta had the best on-time performance at AUS with 79.6% of flights arriving on time in 2022. Alaska Airlines and United Airlines were right behind at 79.3% and 79.1% respectively. And when you look at canceled flights, Republic Airways, which operates flights as American Eagle, Delta Connection, and United Express, is the top offender in Austin with 8.6% of all arrivals canceled in 2022. Low-cost carrier Allegiant Airlines canceled about 4% of flights scheduled to arrive in Austin.
Well, it's a hot, dry evening for many of us, including here in Austin, but the radar is still showing a strong thunderstorm in the northern hill country. Good idea to remain indoors, even though this storm is not technically severe. It could produce some small hail and certainly dangerous lightning as it moves out of Lampasas County in the next hour. Your first warning forecast with a huge drop in temperatures and rain for most of us coming up.
This KXAN News podcast is brought to you by Shelf Genie. I'm Rosie Newberry from KXAN Studio 512. Considering replacing your kitchen cabinets? Struggling to find or reach things? Go to shelfgenie.com/Austin. Shelf Genie designs custom pull-out shelves for your existing cabinets, adding convenience and value to the most used room in your home. Shelf Genie custom pull-out shelves, everything in reach.
A new month brings new pressures on Texas renters. A state-run program to provide emergency help isn't stretching nearly as far this year.
As the Texas Rent Relief Program runs out of funds, it's leaving thousands of Texans out of luck. More now from KXAN's Ryan Chandler.
I lie awake at night just worried for not only myself, but the other people who need this help, who this is their lifeline, this is their only chance.
As the rent comes due once again, Molly's just trying to hang on one more month.
I'm getting ready to go back to work from having knee surgery and burying my father who had COVID. So, I'm just, I guess, at this point, hoping that I'm one of those who is helped.
As she goes on her third week, waiting to hear whether she can get some emergency support from the Texas Rent Relief Program, she's not alone. Other Texans have already missed out.
I'm definitely in that group of a lot of people who are a paycheck away from being homeless.
Vanessa Jenkins was denied.
It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing to feel like you're being put on a back burner.
Far more Texans will soon face the same rejection. With the needs higher than ever, there's just not enough money to go around. They can help about 10,400 households this year. That's just about 10% of the more than 100,000 Texans who applied. Of those 10,000, they are prioritizing 6,000 Texans who face imminent eviction. They tell us, with an extraordinary number of applications and very limited funding available, TRR is not able to assist everyone, strongly urging applicants to check your messages so they can process your application as quickly as possible. And that's what Molly will do, as she holds out hope, but fears for others.
I feel that there are some people who may never be able to recover from not getting the help.
Ryan Chandler, KXAN News.
And if you're at risk of losing your apartment and are still waiting on funds from the program, the state tells us you should seek free or low-cost legal services for eviction hearings at texaslawhelp.org. You can find a link to that and help with utility bills in this story on our website at KXAN.com.
And adding to the squeeze, this month is the first month with no expanded SNAP benefits. That means about 60,000 Central Texans are receiving less money to help them buy food in Hayes, Travis, and Williamson counties. They'll be receiving at least $95 less per month than what they were receiving during the pandemic.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist David Yeomans.
Well, record heat out there helping to bubble up a couple showers and thunderstorms. They have remained quite isolated, kind of in the same spots that they were in yesterday. Look at this, another impressive view this evening of a strong thunderstorm well north of Liberty Hill from our Whittlesey Landscape Supply Cam. You can see this rising updraft getting leaned over. That's by wind shear. The winds up here at cloud top level are much stronger than they are at the ground, so it actually tilts the storm over, and that has the effect of actually maintaining its intensity a little better. The radar is showing dry weather for 99% of our population, but up there in Lampasas County, still one strong storm. That's helping cool you off a little, thank goodness. 89 in Lomita, 88 in Lampasas. But this is crazy. It's 95 degrees in Streeter, 93 in Llano. It's April 3rd, for goodness sake. In the metro, this is still a record warm temperature. The record was 90. Now it's 91. We hit 93 earlier in town. Mid-80s in Cedar Park. Sounds kind of nice, doesn't it? 91 degrees in Lakeway. East of 35, it is very warm out there. Upper 80s to near 90 degrees on the dot in Bastrop. But even though those temperatures may look a little better to the east, remember there's more humidity east of I-35, so it feels like 94 in LaGrange and 96 degrees, the heat index, in the shade in Austin. The pollen count is bad because of the gusty winds and mainly dry weather recently. Oak is very high, mold is high. A couple other things are either medium or low, including mulberry and willow. Just a real isolated strong storm northwest of Austin this evening. We'll keep an eye on them for you here through the next few hours. This is actually associated with the unstable southwesterly flow ahead of a huge trough of low pressure. This thing is digging into the entire western half of the U.S., and it is going to be a dominant influence in our weather really all work week. Let me show you what we expect this evening. Our computer model's not getting too excited about these little isolated storms in the northern hill country, but a few more may pulse up and then weaken and then pulse up over the next couple of hours. Kind of like we saw yesterday, we may see some of these turn right a little bit and possibly clip Milam County. We'll keep an eye on these for you guys through 9 or 9:30 p.m. just to be safe. By the way, I know there was a tornado warning for Milam County for some time yesterday. That storm looked mean on radar, but we checked in with the Fort Worth Weather Service office who serves Milam County. They said they've only had a couple minor reports of tree limbs broken, so they do not plan to conduct an official tornado survey. Keep in mind, though, it is a rural area, so if you have any damage reports, relay those to us. Report it at KXAN.com. There may have been a tornado somewhere in Milam County yesterday. Okay, let's get to the forecast tomorrow. Mostly cloudy, mainly dry, except for a little isolated storm possible here or there, just a 10% chance. Late tomorrow night, though, that same western system brings us a big change. A cold front moves through early Wednesday morning with a couple showers and storms along and ahead of it. Not a totally rainy day on Wednesday as the front moves down toward the coast, but lots more rain is still to come later this week. First things first, the temperatures near record hot again tomorrow, 91 in town. But look at these. These are a high temperature forecast. 60s on Thursday and Friday. That's 15, 16 degrees cooler than normal. And as the cold front on Thursday sits down near the coast, little upper level disturbances start to return to the state. This means a much higher likelihood of rain and thunderstorms on Thursday, Friday, and even into parts of early Saturday before it tapers off Easter Sunday. This is looking like a really beneficial rain producer, mainly east of I-35. In Austin, it's very possible we get 1 to 2 inches, 3 or 4 inches possible out on Highway 77 by Saturday midday. Unfortunately, in the hill country where the drought conditions are the worst and the lakes need the water for our drinking supply, probably less than an inch. We'll stay on top of this, though, just in case it changes. Okay, tonight, record-tying overnight temperatures, only 71 with gusty south-southeast winds. Tomorrow, breaks of sunshine, 91, almost another record, just a little 10% chance of a late-day storm. Then the cold front comes. Rain chances increase late this week as our daytime highs and overnight lows get much cooler. Easter weekend, though, drying out just in time for your plans. Only an isolated shower for the U.S. women's soccer team game at Q2 Stadium on Saturday, and dry weather for Easter Sunday.
How full is your gas tank? Just ahead, why there's now reason to believe that prices are headed back up.
Like our temperatures, gas prices have started rising and oil prices are surging after the OPEC Plus oil cartel said it will cut production by more than 1 million barrels a day starting next month. Now that's on top of a cut of 2 million barrels a day announced back in October. Now, between the two, that's about 3% of the world's oil supply. OPEC Plus says the move is aimed at stabilizing the market after prices slumped in the first quarter. For some perspective, oil prices fell from highs of over $120 per barrel last summer to $73 last month. After the announcement, international benchmark Brent crude trading jumped about 6% to $85 a barrel. Just weeks before the U.S. summer driving season, it could lead to higher gas prices. Here's a look at the national average over the last 5 years. You can see so far this year we're in the red. It's less than last year in the light blue. And this graph shows just how much more we were paying last year than in previous years. And in the Austin area, we're paying less than that. AAA says today's average is $3.10 a gallon here. A year ago, we were paying more than 70 cents more at $3.81 per gallon.
No reruns tonight on KXAN. At 7, it's a round of battles on The Voice. Then at 9, Ben's next leap takes him unexpectedly close to home on Quantum Leap. And that'll be right before we're back here with KXAN News at 10 o'clock.
Or you can join us an hour earlier for KXAN News at 9 on the CW Austin. Here is where to find us with an antenna or through your television provider.
Thanks for listening to KXAN News Nightly. You can also listen to KXAN News Today every morning for more in-depth coverage of what matters most to you.